Thank you. Can you see that? Yes.
Yes.
Naming clouds. Clouds assemble unnamed, dragons in phosphorescent air. Our fate from Adam's cheeks cast out with the hysterical angels, hovering above, swollen with elusive laughter, bursting to the hilarity of faces which transform to weeping rain. In the heavens of imagination, beaks with long teeth and corrugated wings, the shifting extinction of beasts by the minute joining into the one. This is one on blue jays, a prompt from Wilka, the winged energy of delight. The blue jays come and go, come and go. They pass this way on their daily flight and sing with plangent sound, the winged energy of delight. I see them, then I don't. They are there, and then they disappear, flying faster than the breeze atop the brown and crooked trees. I am still and stare at them, blue as the winter faience sky, alone and free of all despair in a season cold and dry. They appear and then they disappear into effervescent air. This was a course for me as a farm that has several horses that are always out in a field. And this was during the first rain. Horses in the snow. On the other side of fixed glass windows, the air stings with winter's breath as yellow leaves fall copper on the moss. Far off, fenced within a large field, 8 horses gather in a mist, stallions, white, black, and red, grazing close for conversation, stark naked and calm, like it was a summer day. I am in my woolens by the fireplace to spend another hour before the altar. I give a command to my cell phone, and I'm listening to Donovan sing about Atlantis through the sound system. The horses seem complacent outdoors, and being a Yahoo in the age of YouTube, I wish I could go to hear their wisdom, hear their views on climate change. A burst of snowflakes comes and goes. The horses pose still in meditation on the perfection of white rain. Inside the kindled logs hypnotize me, forgetfulness and warmth. Instant flashes of dancing forms, cinders and smells of smoke, and the logic of fire, which is man. And can I ask you all to mute until actually, if you know you have some ambient sound? Thank you very much. Sorry. And finally, a 4 crows cawing over farmland in Niles, Michigan. How many years have you waited to yield to a solitude of tranquility? Today is the day of your contentment. Today you are a crow that has learned to sing. The fields are an ocean to the horizon on this glorious day of your contentment, and the abundance of harvest is evident in the aroma of the good seasons to come. But you cannot buy a ticket to this feeling. Forget the 100 operas you have seen. No matter if you swore God was listening, and no matter the sin of accepting your own greed. At last you understand the language of crows. They sing in metaphors in the opaline sky. Their voices loud with fulfillment and joy to the landscape they belong to. One day, you stop wanting and just embrace the having. And thank you.
I forgot to ask, do we unmute to applaud here?
Oh, please, yes. And you can, we can stay unmuted. You could, I basically don't ask people to do. There was just like some
Yeah, there was some echo
somewhere,
going on.
and
Yeah.
I generally don't mute everybody. It's
Mhm.
I just think we can, sometimes I do, but I don't prefer to.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, we're all pretty much on the same page here.
Mm.
So so like that. Anyway, well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
So we'll
nice set. Beautiful.
thank you, Christopher. Thank you. So next is David Batten is not here yet. He's probably still there's some poets that were reading at a prior workshop. They'll probably be here in a bit. And Barry is not here yet. David is here, so next on the list. So David, we know each other quite well. We attend workshops together, and David is based in Queens, New York, where I am from. He's a poet, a translator, an occasional actor, director. David Siller studied Francophile literature, focused on poetry and theater. He is a voracious reader, a film, TV, and comic book buff, and knows more about French hip hop than you could possibly imagine. You can find him. He lives in Queens at Waxy and Poetic. David, thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Mark. It's good to be here. Let me go ahead and share the screen. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. This first one is called Triptych 1. In a former life I might have loved, might have carved initials in flesh. In a distant life I may have unsettled among foggy moors or between the pines and firs of fairy tale mountains, the cold forests of witchery and lost paths. In another life, I might have believed the cloaked fortune teller's testament of the twists and turns of palm scars, lifelines, and lifelines, and life lies, and life's lies. There are things far scarier than I see in the play of light and shadow as it wafts between the tombstones and headstones of once historied personal myths, the ones I repeat, and thus repeating, become either true or real. 2. No, no, not this, never this. Dragonflies and lightning bugs swarming in stomach seizure. 3. Oh, oh, this? Ever this. Dragonflies and lightning bugs swarming in stomach seizure. It was called the polyglot capital of the earth. On an eastbound Q64, sun high and bright overhead, there is a peace within the transit grumble, passengers dotting the buscape. Abuela, with hands folded in lap, I, the poet, ears hidden in headphones playing no music. 2 best friends matching giggles and outfits, mother and daughter, grocery bags gripped tight. And the bearded man, a bright ivory kufi, deftly woven, covering his head, doing his midday prayers, with some gestures of reverence I don't recognize, and others I do. Forward lean in supplication, arms crossed in front of chest, repeat. It is as it should be, the engine rumbling up the hill, carrying us all along. This one's called In the Alps, the Snow Seems a Bloody Gauze. Starts with an epigraph from a New York Times Science article. While snow algae blooms are poorly understood, that they are happening is probably not a good sign. Then again, neither are the emotional algae blooms that, as if taking their cue from late capital R romantics, show themselves in the deep reds of sang de glacier, glacier blood, or the bright, sweet watermelon snow whose pastèque pinks rhyme the faint red tides of ocean algae. And somewhere I read that algas is another way to pluralize these blooms when writing about them, but who's to say which is the more poetic? And are we not drifting like those red tides further from the glacier blood metaphor that seemed ripe for a deep run through the blood and bones of this poem? Deep in the sense of philosophical bent, and also of hued rouge foncé, remember sang de glacier's glacier blood. But not to be mysterious, though these obscure blooms sneak beneath the white blank layers and are waiting for the hot scratching of pens whose sole purpose is to melt the microscopic, whose one aim is to bleed the heart, break and open the deep cracks of failures and failings. And are we not closer in these lines to a wave of red tides ebbing in and out of rusty oranges, a rose bloom vacillating between pink lemonade and sang de glacier? Or are we simply moving at a glacier's pace, riding around the troubles and tribulations? Who's to say that this poem, as if discarding its blooms through its repetitions and circular ramblings, gets to the deep bits, the naughty bits, the raw bits, the bits read and reread as une métaphore, un art, or when there is space, un tableau vivant? And are we not seeing precisely that as the sang de glacier forms in the heights of the Alps, melting reds and pinks of snow algae catching our attentions? Whose inspirations, whose traumas, whose worries, deep as furrowed brows or tectonic plates that bloomed these mountains, that bloomed the whos and whats and whys of these glaciers, will deepen the reading and the reading of this art de sang de glacier. In this final short piece, on Sunday nights, disorder declines. He has taken to embracing a spare pillow, its curves as dizzying as her departed form. It, flesh soft and skin soft, stuck mid-torso. The bed not as vast as it otherwise would be, arms not as empty as they otherwise would be, breath calm as the end of breathlessness would be. Each new moon blacks room, shadows playing in shadows. Revolutions and rotations keep him spinning and spinning, a perpetual emotion machine, building to immutability. The pillow in its place, the dark in its place, the empty in its space. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Merci, copain.
Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, all of you some of you may or may not know each other. You can afterwards put whatever you'd like to in the chat, about where other maybe people here can follow you or get to know you as it were, right? So I think that's how we can all, continue a community of poets and all that. So next, I know a lot of people, like some of the poets that have not here yet. I mean, they went to extraordinary means telling me have their poets here. They're all set. Oh, here's one. They're just coming now. So I don't know what to say, but it's a little late. But we'll try to keep the order as best I can. Okay. Hi, Barry. Welcome. So I'm going to move on first with Sophie, and then we'll backtrack back to Barry, if that's okay. So Sophie Burnham is someone I've met at creativity groups in the Washington, D.C. area. And she's always been a tremendous inspiration to me, but physically and mentally. And her imagination has always astounded me. And she sent me a little bio, and I didn't know all this about you, Sophie, that she's the author of 15 books, 3 which are on the New York Times bestseller list. And she's published novels, nonfiction, short stories, poetry, winning plays, children's books, documentaries, articles, or Esquire, everywhere. And she's known for writing on spiritual matters, angels, mysticism, prayer, and the numinous. Her books are translated in 26 languages, and she's appeared on TV and radio. And my God, Sophie, on and on. In 2000, what a wonderful life. In 2019, her New York Times article for Modern Love about love in older women gathered responses from both men and women gathered was done around the world. Well, with no further ado, Sophie, I have your poem actually, and I'll put it on screen.
Well, thank you so much. I am really honored to be here. And I am going to read 3 poems if there's time. And the first 2 are about something I think about a lot these days as I've gotten older, which is death. So the first one is called Risotto. Even when I am making a risotto, even when cleaning my fingernails or watering the plants or admiring the gaudy sunset spread across a vulgar sky, I have one ear cocked for the doorbell. Now, or maybe now, I think, while the clocks tick, tock, recording time, because he will ring soon, I know. But why do we call him he, who surely is a she? Wrapped in a black cloak, designer made, no doubt, and maybe a black beret perched on her dyed blonde hair, and the flash of lively coal black eyes, or blue, that piercing cobalt of an autumn sky. I think when I answer the door, she'll have a huge warm smile on her lovely face, skin like a 10-year-old, all bloom and silken smooth. Are you ready? She'll sing, and I'll hear the excitement in her voice. Ready? No, I have to empty the dishwasher still and write my granddaughter. So much I haven't had time to tell her yet, and cuddle the cat, hear him purr. No, wait, come in, sit down, have a cup of tea. I'll be ready in another year or 10. I have so much to do. Come on, you'll like it, she'll say, with that lilting laugh, light as air. She'll reach out one perfectly manicured hand, touch me, and I know I won't be able to resist. She is seduction, Eros, Aphrodite. I leave the door open in my hurry, and the dishes unwashed, and the wet ink blotting on the page, dirty clothes in the hamper, the bed unmade, and nothing finished in my hastening after her, because all I'll want is to follow her. Meanwhile, how sweet to make risotto, adding cheese, the smoothing of my bed sheets, the curve of a blanket fold, the plunk of flowers in a vase. How delicious to brush the dirt from my fingernails, and a hot shower, yes, and that violent, swift sunset, the flicker of a swallow's tail, the gray squirrel swarming up the tree, the wind tossing down the grass like long-haired girls. It's enough to make you wish the doorbell would never ring. But no, these things are only dear because I know that soon, too soon, I'll hear her at the door, the urgent peal, her shining face. Like your cloak, I'll say, as we move along together, hand in hand. And the second poem, quite different in style. I live in my body like a suitcase. I live in my body like a suitcase that I carry around knocking on my knees. It's battered now, the corners crushed, and the fine leather scuffed and scarred. The dull stuffing shows through in places, but I clutch it tight lest someone grab it away. I think of myself, who hides inside, as dazzling, a shining, and also maybe 25. I'm shocked when the mirror reflects my suitcase back instead, but still it's mine. No one else can have my case. My suitcase has been loved by others too. Other hands have polished its brass locks, run tender fingers along the straps and ridges of its fine design. Others have murmured how beautiful my suitcase is. But someday, in a while, I'll set it on the floor, flip up the locks, and pull myself out like a white shirt, laundry fluttering in the wind. My suitcase will be tossed on the dump or burned. I think I won't regret its loss. I'm told you can always lease another if you like. Time to a third poem. No, Me Stupid. Let me do Me Stupid. This is a totally different kind of thing. Me Stupid. When me come out weak, thin, starved, 4 pounds small by measurement, say me owl-eyed, silent, say me carve in cocoa-cola, say day by day me sit the marvel me still live. Not till later school, me 9, it defect show, they say, count of no give answer like the others. Shine, me stupid, bullied, dirt thrown, hit, then rape in playground, then times more and more, 'cause of me no fit for better, say they. Boy hitch jeans, me too sore walk, weep by me lone, me mama high, me papa gone, 14 now and baby nigh. Belly big, me eat, want feed she, and when me lie in bed, me whisper to she, sing, me sign how she gonna be so pretty, yes, have faculties, read, write, be smart, not deaf like me.
Thank you, Sophie.
Beautiful poems. Well done. Beautiful.
Okay, wow. Okay, take a deep. I was after each reader, I take a breath. You have one test. Barry, you were here?
I'm here.
There you are, under different name. Okay, so move on to the next poet. Before I introduce what his little bio that he wrote for me, Barry was my teacher at City College over 50 years ago. And he was my poetry, one of my early poetry professors. And we kind of lost touch, obviously, over those many decades. And I just kind of got back in touch with him a little bit somehow. And we're having this, I'm just so elated to see him again and to read his poetry and to learn a little bit about how he's had such a wonderful life, so well spent and all that. So Barry is the author of 11 collections of poetry. His most recent, It's About Time, and Time on the Move, and Tony Blues. He's made 8 recordings of his poetry with jazz, and most recently, Lisbon Sunset in 2016. He's an emeritus professor of literature, creative writing, CUNY, my old alma mater, and is an editor at the American Book Review. He still lives in New York City. And that said, Barry, oh, I have your poem. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I have to dig out. Sophie, let me get rid of yours. I'll be right there. Okay. Can you see them, everyone? Yes?
I can. Why don't you, Mark, scroll down to the second one. That's it.
Sure.
I'll only read that top one if there's time. So, his fluky fall. And like Sophie, I'll read some of these poems are about mortality. His fluky fall. Originally, it was his lucky fall, and I changed it to a funnier word. A bar of soap, more likely a sliver, slipped out of his grasp onto the shower floor. Then he slid and cracked his noggin. The blood went down the drain. This was his fabulous fall, the end to all wars and forever. He's out of the weather. No further anticipations of future emendations of gripes now out of season. Never another paper cut, hiccup, heart palpitation, swerving rides to the hospitals. And he'll miss the storm and the pallid migrations, ghosts leaving ghost town, the silence of church bells, and best of all, worst of all, the grimace that creases his love's face when they hear the news. So that's, and the next is a poem, Dawdling Past Curfew. And this one was written during a dear friend's terminal illness. So it's in a way about survivor guilt. Surely it was an error, or a lucky punch that let me slip through and continue in this living room, the best room on the planet, when the others have left, some few years ago, some others just lately. They no longer know I'm here in the room, or maybe possessed by magic, some do know and think my way, feel into the corners of this large room. It cools a little every time someone leaves. All the coats, hats, scarves, neatly hung in the closet, a board on their hangers, devoid of utility. So I stick around and envision my needs, palpate my hunger, photograph all I can, find the music that keeps me listening and in touch with the players. Out this plate glass window, beauties pass by, a phoebe, a falling feather, a postal worker with parcels, boys and girls who vibrate on the verdant lawn. The past tense makes no sense.
Did you want to
And,
go? Oh, you had one below that. Yes.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, sorry. I didn't know I was scrolling up or down. You have, this is the one you want?
was, right.
Yes, okay.
My father, in his old age, I was visiting him with my brother, and we always would kid him about his thinning hair. And he smiled and said, well, what's was. And I'd never heard that expression before, and it triggered this poem in his lifetime. But I wrote it after he died. What's was. My father, no longer cold in his coffin, but returning to dust, as the coffin too will do in time, like to say in old age with a thinned out smile, what's was. And it had a sweet ring when applied to a thing, the dishwasher done in finely, and a replacement on its way, an LP recording now on CD, an auto gone to rust, a money down on a shiny one, a nasty remark, finally forgotten. What's was, an old bird fallen off its wing, leaves of autumn, a tear that's dried, a full head of hair now thinned to a shine, the body's waste flushed away as this music fades, a practice for the end that does not come, the music does not stop. For every was in time's fast memory, there is an is, and the is trumps the was every time. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Beautiful work, Barry. Beautiful.
Thank
there
you.
you have it. Yeah.
Much
Oh,
appreciated.
yeah. Yeah, and a very moving poem, and I've had the similar situation with my father and certain linguistic things. It was very moving, as well as the rest of it. Thank you, Barry, and thanks for being a part of this as well.
My pleasure.
I'm quite honored, as with all of you. Oh, so our next poet, you sent me a little bio. I saw Elmien perform, and I just was blown away, and had to get to know a little bit more about this person. And she wrote to me that she's an emerging poet based in York in the United Kingdom. She reads her first poem online in June this year, while by day she's the editor of an international medical journal. And her writing draws on her sometimes challenging experience in life, love, and motherhood. She's delighted to have found this new place. And I'm delighted to have found her. She really will impress us all, I'm sure. But hi, Elmien.
Oh, hello, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Hi. Is it okay for me to share screen?
It's
myself.
that's the rule. Those are the rules. We must.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Great. Let me just make sure I'm on the right bit. Great. Let me share Safari. Uncle. A poem lurks beneath the surface of my mind. A whale shape bulges up, but the water doesn't break. You were the last. You knew my father's past. You have his calves and ankles, don't you know? His closed eye laugh and silver whiskers too. What did you see when you would dive beneath the blue? The family were all so proud of you. A Navy diver stronger than the rest. Not even cousin Colin could beat your best. With quiet twinkles in those naughty pale blue eyes, you kept your secrets close with little smiles and barbecues in style. But nothing ever tasted as good as my father in a happy mood. Did you know him before he was sad? Before he was broken? Before he turned bad? Was he good? Was he kind? Did you still love him or just get by when he had to be daddy and hit you till you cried? Your broken mother made him chief, stole his childhood like a rotten thief. The army made it worse, turned him into a shouty sergeant major with lips so thin and terse, who barked orders at children, and when he wanted to impress, would demand a show for his special guests, made us play and perform, ignorant of the storm building inside of me. But over the well shape, the water bulges, it does not break. The whale turns, the water churns, and the ocean swallows it whole. The bruise. I stand before you, I shine, I give you all my beauty, all my love. What in you wants to shut me up and shut me down? My paper-thin defenses are bruised by your frown. Betrayal. Languidly, you lean forward, dip and stir your dirty fingers in the waters of my soul. Agitating mud and frog spawn, pond skimmers skittering away in panic. Dragonfly nymphs lurking in the deep for years and years. Your reflection distorts, ugliness circles out, wave upon wave. Damn pond, you shout. How dare you? I was in love with you, but you are hideous now. Shame, tender breasts, just PMS, I say, brushing tears away. I miss you. I curl into a ball. Time tick-tocks. I find my phone, unfurl my fingers, write the pain into submission. Defiant, I hide my shame by exposing it relentlessly. Broken, not broken. Face a mess, hot tears burn out, but body stands, bones stack themselves, and we see her lean forward, step into her life. And to end, Snakeskin, poem of transformation. Seamless sheath unfurling in the curling skin of my hand. Breath flares, it scares me. In the glare we share, we bare our souls, our teeth glinting in the glow. Snarl or smile. My inner child, hair wild, unzips me from inside, shedding me a skin, shaking off the scales of old wives' tales, scales balanced between hunger and need, the need to feed, to bleed, revealing raw sin. crawling under your skin. Bright, shining pulses, drumming beat convulses. I curl, unfurl, evaporate.
Whoop.
Great work.
Lovely.
Very good.
Oh, wow. Well, that was just lovely. And would have believed you just began this thing? Oh, man. Well, you've got many good years ahead, I'm sure, but wow. Wow.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Lovely to be here.
I seem to have passed over you, Mervyn, and I think the reason is I don't have a biography on you, so I didn't see, I just like passed over the name. I know we met at an open mic, and I was very, obviously, I just hearing you, I saw that, that it was very high level poetry, and I really loved it. And I know you're living in Germany and you're with the Air Force or something. I don't know very much more about you. So maybe introduce a couple of words and then please do the share.
So I dropped it in the chat when we first started.
I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
All right. So I started doing spoken word. Did it for about 20 so odd years. Of the last recent 4 or 5 years, I got an MFA at Spalding University in Louisville, Kentucky. And since then, in the last 3 years, I've probably had about 50 poems selected by about 38 different journals in 6 countries. So, and last year I was a Pushcart nominee. So, okay, let's share.
And David, I saw that you just came in, so you'll go up next if that's okay. I know you were. I got your email. I understand, so I'll put you in as next. Thank you very much, David.
Okay, so some people call me a formalist. The first one is like a loose sonnet called "The Weight He Carried." He wrapped each night in a bullet, woven, weighty blanket around himself. His security, tapping fingers crooked against a rifle stock, wooden, metal weapon half his size, tightening his grip during sweat-echoing nightmares. Shell-shocked, wide-eyed at bullets, bulge holes, fresh meat stained by poked flames, bloating his mother and father's blood. Rebel soldiers drag him at age 9, away from a village family thought, shrouded from Congo's carnage. Now orphaned, carrying machine gun ammo supplies with other orphans, scared, not escaping without bullets slapping their backs, limping frames. The second piece is Sistina, and it is the title piece for my collection that I'm still looking for publication for. But this piece was published at Filling Station out of Canada. Okay. Stick, hook, and a pile of yarn provided my mommy the crochet tools she needed to thread web knots past her death. A slip knot around the hook wrapped the yarn in knots compressed in shapes.
Damn.
Is that like him or us?
He's frozen.
I
His
think it's
connection is
he
gone.
that's
Yeah.
frozen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mervyn, he's frozen.
And his poem is still there. What a strange okay.
There we go. He's flipped out.
Yeah, Mervyn, unfortunately, you're still on mute.
Unmute, Mervyn.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Right.
well, why don't you start? Why don't you start over? You must have had a little power surgery, whatever it was.
Right. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Stick, hook, and a pile of yarn provided my mommy the crochet tools she needed to thread web knots years past her death. A slip knot around the hook wrapped the yarn in knots compressed in shapes four-sided, contrasting rainbow colors. Yarn reading the storyline of her son looped around the stick. My mommy laced loops using a stick to guide the path to come, a tool navigating the foreshadowed path, knots to come. Each chapter broken in hooked pages, a marriage questioned brought shapes in daunting, dark blended colors. Our family was far, where our dust color was their dawn, a variegation of seasons looped in a scent, a kidney transplant, a promise precise tools may not work. Mommy stitched shapes with knots in my blanket. Knotted husband hooked on drugs hid from his blended family. Abused shapes came in leaves, powders, crystallized shapes in darkened green, white, tarnished yellow colors. Mommy never read the braille shapes around the loops of the blanket. She created a Celtic shield, a tool to protect her son from the social vultures, knots tightening, unraveling around him, hooked to a path weaving him from gunshots, hooked fish in homesteads, swamps. Mommy crocheted shapes short of symmetry, her garden of herbs amid bark-colored roots sown early before the boiling sun or before boiling sun. Flowers looped around the tree. Prism's reflection created a small tool for her son to harvest her joy between the knots of a path without streetlights. My mommy nodded her heart in the blanket, a life connected, hooked her presence to me when she spoke no more. Diamond shapes embedded in the blanket's center lighted her son colors, letting her son know he was precious. Looping her love wrapped her warmth around him. A compass tool of direction, a tool secured by knots my mommy stitched, guided by a hook. Stages mapped in four-sided shapes, forecasting chapters and colors, coupled in her loops. My last piece is
it very lengthy?
now.
It's a great piece, but it's very lengthy. Just for everybody else's sake, because that was a great poem. It really was.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just think it's just to be fair to everybody. But
Okay.
that was just, just lovely and great stuff. And please come back and read some more and again and again.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going
Fine
to go
work,
next.
Mervyn.
Yeah, really.
Very
I'm going to go
fine.
next with David Batten. And do put your information in the chat, Mervyn, and everyone else, so we can find out who you are, and follow your work. I'd like to do that. Where are you? There you are, David. Hi, nice to see you again. Okay, understand and welcome another gentleman I met at a poetry open mic, who just has the touch. David is an Anglo-Welsh writer living in the edge of the Massif Central in southern France with his partner Ingrid, a master's degree at Hull University before working in rural development and sustainability in North Wales. 3 full-length collections and a pamphlet been published in the UK Cinnamon Press and a novella by Licorice Press, Rotterdam. He currently works in the summer as a gardener in a botanical garden and in winter operating ski lifts in the local resort. Take us away. Take us to your ski lift. It's wonderful. Thank you, David. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Mark. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thanks for that, Mark. I'm sorry for being late. Well, I thought I'd read something seasonal, a selection of short poems. Can you screen share them for me?
I have them. I'm sorry, I've forgotten. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right here. Yeah, yes.
Thanks.
Coming up. There we go.
That's cool. So this is from my first collection called Transhumance, and the poem's called Winter Fruit. A day of crushing temperatures, stubborn ice, freezing fog gives way to sun's low stare and dragging shadows, making people frown, the weight of winter bearing down. But we still have the horizon, and when sun appears, the alchemy in the atmosphere writes a different ending with Rothko lines of orange, red, mauve, where even the slenderest jawbone of moon finds its place. Spirits rise as if some giant thumb has been pressing down to test how firm or ripe we have become, and now put back on the pile to settle as we fall. This is February. This is also from Transhumance. February clamps the land, freezes roads, hardens everything. Cattle stand in silent troops at frozen troughs, stumped. And deep in the ice, lost faces wrapped in rags, the agony of frostbite, the tenacity and limit of life. Hauntings of Karelia, Moscow, of black heroics and ice age away. The postcard prettiness peeling off the negative. This next one is from my second collection called Untergang. This is called You Left. You left before the snow fell, before I realized I should have stopped you. Now everything's wrong. White, darkening becomes epic. Visibility and temperature fall so fast, I imagine an Antarctica, frostbite, howling wolves, mammoth bones. A snowplow surges past, lonely giant roaring into night. Moorland Fugue. This one, I'll say a few words about it. I remember reading that Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys was once being interviewed in an airport about the sound of the 60s, the sound of the Beatles and the Beach Boys surfing sound. And he said, no, the sound of the 20th century is that. And he's pointed to the jet aircraft that was taxiing on the runway. And he said, it's the sound of compressed air. It's the sound you get in the cockpit. And I've always had a fascination with when I heard about the concept or the theory of the music of the spheres, of the all sound of music comes to us from the planets and the stars. So this is called Moorland Fugue. The strung horizon pulls in, tight tuned round a sounding bowl of peat and heather lined basalt for wind song composed on the moor's stave. The plateau presses its disc against starlight, adds its pock-marked tunes to the symphony of suns and moons, drumming, wailing, yammering from ages of stone, bronze, iron. Our own worldwide whispering, clickings of command, air-conditioned cockpit hush, the 200-year crescendo of machine, harmonizing the crumbling of leaves, creaking earth's ringing appeal in the cosmic anthem. And from leavened tundra, a culture to produce the hands of pianists to play it all back. And to finish off with a couple of very short ones from my latest collection, Winterice. This next one was actually written in Holland and about Holland, called Will of the Wisp. Residential units in blocks and rows are laid out across shallow land, over bogs, marshes, and shifting sand, entombed beneath low cloud flow. Through tracery of branches, the sky darkens until filigree black on black above boxed back gardens, where white Christmas lights on a line of clipped hedge sway in the soft breeze of night, like snagged souls caught on their way.
Hmm.
And finally, the mock suns. This was walking down a shopping street and just looking up and seeing the narrow streetway between the houses above the lights. Above the flaring moles, past gables and roof ridges of a fairy-lit town, a dark, dark deep, where I think our stars realigned one day while we were looking away, flew around like crazed astral gnats, which stopped when we looked up again, fixed in their tracks, their mischief, as if they had always been configured that way, in the deep frozen dark, where light playing in silence may have always been the only music. Thanks very much. Thank you, everyone.
Well,
Beautiful.
as we move through this round of poetry, it's just thrilling, isn't it? The amount of good voices that are among us all. It's just wonderful. It's a great thrill, great pleasure. Thank you very much for that great read, David.
Thank you.
And next is Jay Brodbar. Jay, hello. Did you stick in? He was here before.
I'm here.
Oh, I saw you. You're out of the screen. So thank you. Heavens, thank heavens. Well, Jay and I go back a little whiles now. We're both part of a very active workshop. We share each other's poetry quite frequently. Jay lives in Toronto. He's a former New Yorker, a citizen of 3 countries, a former academic, a not-for-profit executive, a permanent parent, and he thinks hopefully a poet. Well, I know he's a poet. Jay, please take it away.
Thank you. I think that almost all my poems, one or another, have something to do with mortality. Mine, someone else's, or the mortality of memory, I guess.
That wasn't the theme, but that's quite all right.
There we go.
Okay. So it is a big theme in poetry. It's okay. Go ahead.
Memo. I didn't get it, the one about happiness. Or maybe my mother didn't get it. There you go again. Sure, I'm to blame. I wasn't in class when they handed it out. Wait, they ran out just before they got to me. Yes, and me, comfortable in the familiar, embraced the snub. So where does it say we deserve to be happy? It was a godsend, I thought, to be overlooked, skipped over, not deserving, deus ex machina. So I gifted myself this anti-memo and idled in the freedom it bestowed. Yes, as I've always said, you lack ambition. Seance. These dead, my dead, were dead to me before, long before to the world they both were dead. I cannot call them up, although they roar, a double hiding I can't exhume in dread. Stream subterranean I summon forth, search in vain the deep descent below, a fearsome trip through seams of ravaged earth, these veins of grief where no one dares to go. I close my eyes and focus hard. At best, dim palimpsests in frenzied swirl, layers, mirror fragments of broken shards or precious etchings long imperiled, bedeviled images heaped each on each, cloaked shadows cruelly beyond my reach. My father's heart was one chamber short. At least this was family lore. Whether true or not, I'm doggedly sure. It was too beaten to do the requisite job. Too much was piled on that battered, weary pump. father and son. I can measure the distance between us in trips. Our night train ride retrieved from my surprising stay at the cousins, arriving at our apartment, smothered with nosy neighbors and other strangers, reigning in the center of the crowd, my mother, cradling tightly the newest, smallest stranger close. Our meandering drive to the north, winding close to the border, my induction to goodbye trips, heading neath the eucalyptus canopies to mother's brothers, my nail torn off by the steeled car door, stayed brave for you, focused on family lore, how their pool, most strange, had been trenched by a Syrian bomb that just missed their apartment. New country, southward fleeing frigid apartments, two fathers, two sons, at first sight of palms, a close call, avoiding a crash, awkward thaw of strangers, pizza, fresh squeezed OJ, each night of this treasured trip, the shimmering Christmas lights ringing the beach stayed with us through the cold ride back to wives and mothers. These all too temporary stays, respites, 3 trips, 2 strangers now back in their airless apartment, briefly mothered, the window open, too soon closed. David Siller, I hope you forgive the half the sestina there. I'm going to end with hopefully something a little lighter, rising up. Steamed onions. The Schwitz smelled of onions, not fresh off the chopping block onions living raw and pungent in some shishi California salad. No, onions fried lovingly and long in a river of fat. Ziblach mit Griven, my father used to call them, a sweet piece of the old country piled high on a fat slice of carawayed buttered rye. Something surely was awry. That part of my brain responsible for all things ethnic had hiccuped, a misfired synapse, some chemical messenger trying to beat traffic with a wrong shortcut. Ziblach? In a Schwitz? I rested my head on the sweating tiles. Hardened baritones and excited tenors cut through the ether from all directions. Funerals, unveilings, grandchildren mingled with talk of the jays and maple leafs. Shadows gesturing with numbered forearms, arguing Canadian politics in Yiddish. Their words, bubbling in the pan, mingled, rising higher and higher as they wafted to the ceiling with the steam. Ziblach, Ziblach mit Grieben. Thank you.
Lovely stuff, Jay.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
All versions of sestinas are good versions of sestina.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to see a friend from the workshop come in and give such good reading. It's great. Thank you very much, Jay. And next is Mary Sesso. Mary, I don't know much about you, though. I was hoping you'd send me a little bit of a bio, but I know a little bit of you, but please introduce yourself a little bit and then
Okay.
please read to us.
I'm a retired nurse. I received my MFA from Vermont College. My first chapbook came out 2 years ago, and I have another one coming out in July. I live in Bethesda with my dog, Bo, and we are trying to grow old gracefully. All right, I have one poem, and I'm going to do my very best to share the screen. And if I can, I will just simply read it.
Or you could just send it to me and I'll put it on for you if you care to. There you go.
Oops.
You got it. Just get rid of all that stuff. Just, you don't need it. It won't get you out of the meeting. Don't worry.
Okay.
There you go.
Got it?
Thank you. Good. You got it. Yeah.
Driving behind Zill's body parts truck. We don't throw away hearts in trouble. We open them, drop in stents and valves to restore health. Crumbly knees mate with fake ones and suddenly smile. But I worry about my spirit. Is there a replacement for a cranky one? So full of crank it can't renew itself to keep from going off tracks. I hold a mirror, peer inside. It's like swallowing a camera. I see a soul desperate to pink up its cheeks, a ventricle cracked with murky longings, hope stumbling over its feet. If my spirit had a sponsor, would she say, turn away from an image of a woman too grizzled to dance? Like Zill, you're able to replace broken parts with ones that work. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Unfortunately, we weren't able to follow it all the way down because you didn't scroll it down
Oh, I'm
as you were
sorry.
reading. But that's okay. There was a poem which was self-contained enough, and we all enjoyed it.
All
Well,
right.
thank you. Thank you for finding us and for offering your work to us. Thank you very much. Our next poet is kind of an interesting photographer poet. Very interesting bio of Arlene Santiago as a photography manipulation artist from the Bronx and a 7-time survivor of cancer, living in grace and getting into photography and become her outlet. And she's been exhibited in galleries and all through the Bronx and Manhattan, has her anthology of the Bronx Memoir Project, recently photography, anthology, all kinds of stuff. And I think her work is thrilling. So, Arlene,
Hi.
please take, yeah, sure, take it.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
You're also running
Thank
in
you
the
for this space.
yeah, you're also running. You'll also be hosting in the Poetry Global Network in Spanish shortly. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna share my screen. I'm not an expert, but here we go. So, and I believe this is where we at.
You did perfect.
This is the beginning. Can you see it? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. My poem is called Dragonfly, and this is based on my personal life experience with cancer. As this body has been beaten physically, emotionally, and mentally because of the big monster sea, I find myself in the transformation and realization of the deeper meaning of life. Yo, I can fly. I'm becoming a dragonfly. I see myself through the clear waters, submerging my strong wings and visualizing as my form slightly turns. I can see the colors of the polarization of light is falling on it and complementing my airfoil. It's shining with exuberant chroma stars. I am dancing in the air. My soul carries no weight, traveling through mystical portals, me. Gravitate through ponds and portals, air and water, describes myself as both are I. Embracing change in all forms, soul journey to living, the best moments to the fullest, enlightenment, to keep soaring and flying through my rainbow of life. And thank you so much for having me today. And that is my artwork and my photography. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Testament indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Yeah. Wow. Very moving indeed. Everything here tonight. We have 2 of us left. There's Lawin and Ken. First I'll introduce Lawin. Lawin is a fellow of mine on the Poetry Global Network, which I mentioned from time to time. It's a group of poets from all over the world that are doing events like this. This is sponsored by them, and workshops and all types of other open mics, and you might have heard spotlights, poetry news, what's going on in the world, all different segments and all the different social media outlets. But besides, Lawin is also a a fantastic poet. And every time I'm in awe of, every time he reads, he mesmerizes the crowd. He's from Manila. And thank you for staying, for getting up so early this morning for us, Lawin. And so for that, we get a treat. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mark. Please pardon my voice. This is what I sound like running on 2 hours of sleep. Okay, but that's not an excuse, really. Mark, please refresh the agreements for this one. I'm allowed 3 still?
5 minutes, give or take 5 minutes, you know.
All right, easy. Sharing screen now. Can everyone see this?
Hi.
Hi, everyone can? Yeah? All right, excellent. It is the end of the year, and that brings us to many spaces, some of them awkward, some of them funnier than others, some of them painful, all of them inevitably beautiful, I think. And I guess that's where this will take us. Let's begin with science friction. Once upon a time, in a galaxy too uncomfortably like home, it was delicious. You've never written so well. Of course I came. I love you so much. Yes, that's the whole truth. He started it. You have to believe me. I'm halfway there, hang on. How could I forget? I'll always be there. Becomes wrapped like space, bent like gravity in a black hole. You misunderstood. That's not what I meant. Why are you making this harder? You mean you took it literally? You can believe what you want. I don't have to explain this to you. Let's just be thankful for what we have. I know I said it, but so what? Stop exaggerating. You are so dramatic. Convenient untruths give way to laser-guided defense systems. Sure, I'll get back to you. Okay. So that's just, well, for those who have been following some of my stuff, this is just me trying to screw around a little differently. I hope that works somehow. And this is up next. It's called Trigger Warning. No, it's not a trigger warning. It's called Trigger Warning.
Okay, thank you.
Sick of being sick, of second-guessing people's eyebrows and wondering if they're wearing pants or something below the Zoom frame. Or are we the same, half naked and lazy? Why wear shoes or socks if no one can see? But my shirts are still pressed. Aren't you impressed? 2 years depressed, repressed, suppressed, mask-obsessed, virus-oppressed. Maybe wear a vest or just give it a rest. Sick of being sick, of seeing, not touching, embracing, face-to-face facing, tired of pretending this is okay. It's not okay. I'm not okay. Okay. It's just this thing we say, a way to close one more day of holding the reaper at bay, of saying, oh, today it wasn't me. Singled out by roll of dice, of random careless breath or stupid tilt of odds. I'm just sick of being sick. Click, click, click. Running out of chambers. But let's not end it there. That's a little too heavy an ending, isn't it? How do we wrap up this year? Are there ribbons enough to hold together the broken bits, glitter enough to dust off these aching joints for one more turn on the table, energy enough to give ourselves one more time? How do we wrap up this year? How do we keep giving when so much has already been taken? What do we give when there's nothing left but 32 kinds of empty crumbs left by the thankless, but settle for no less than everything? Wrap it up and give it all over again. How do we wrap up this year, this mess of words and shrapnel hearts and deadlines and rigor mortis, this year of strange friends and unreal seasons of midnight hopes and sometimes questionable decisions? The last 31,536,000 seconds that make up these things we oddly hold dear. And yet, just a second, let's not forget, for all we've been through, we're still here. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes. Woo, woo, woo. Woo. Have your heart. I love it.
Wow. Well, what's nice about this event, of course, is you can go back. It takes about 48 hours or so. Then I just put it on YouTube, Poetry Channel 28. And what I'm doing is I'm putting each of your time when you read there. So if you just want to, refer to your time being here, it's like the page number, right? And eventually there'll be an anthology put together, who read here and, and all that during the Zoom years that we're living in. Anyway, so I have two poets
Will
left. I
you
have
send
Ken
out
come.
YouTube to us, Mark?
Oh,
Will
you just go to
send out
YouTube and type in poetry, Planet Poetry 28. It comes right up. Just go right into YouTube and in the space bar that says search. You'll see them. They're all there, one after the other. Like Frank Sinatra records.
Say the title again, please.
Oh, what you're in right now, Planet Poetry 28. Yeah, the 28th day of every month. And I certainly hope that you'll all come back as guests and or participants just to be here to experience this amazing poetry that we do every month. It's just stunning. Well, we have two poets left. I have Ken Cumberlidge, who I don't have the privilege of being. I know I've seen you read and I love your stuff. I just don't know that much about you, Ken. So you have to introduce yourself. And then Lakan woke up also from the Philippines, and he'll end the show for us, and that would just be wonderful. Well, go ahead, Ken. Thank you. Tell us a little about yourself.
Okay, I'll read the blurb I sent you.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I guess I didn't get it.
Don't
yet.
worry.
I'm sorry.
Trials of being a Zoom host. Don't worry, Mark.
I'm
Ken's
sorry,
blurb.
Ken.
Ken Cumberlidge cut his performance teeth on the Liverpool pub poetry scene of the 1970s and has never recovered. For the past 10 years, Ken has been living in Norwich, UK, where by and large people leave him alone. He can, however, be lured out of cover by the promise of good company and an open mic, hence his presence here. Ken writes about love, sex, nature, loss, personal identity and queerness, with an occasional foray into the eerie and macabre. Poke him with a sharp enough stick and he may even wake up long enough to get shouty about politics. Right, I'll start screen sharing. I'm going to do 3 poems. Let me just remind myself what screen sharing consists of. Right. Why are none of the options in front of me the ones on my desktop? That's interesting. Hang on. Desktop 2. No. This is fun. I've got desktop 1, desktop. Right. For some reason, it's not showing me the PDF file that I want to read from. I wonder why.
Just erase everything else, put us on the side and erase everything else and just come back to it, then come back to us and then go back to the share screen. It's the whole
Okay.
process of that. Yeah.
Okay, so I minimize Zoom and I'm going to open the PDF in front of me. Then I'm going to go back to Zoom and then I'm going to hit share screen and it's still not there.
Oh.
I'm really sorry about this. I don't know.
And then I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me let Lakan perform if you can, Lakan, and just email it to me. Okay? And then I'll just put it right up.
I've never had this problem before. With
It's okay. It happens. I know.
Okay.
Don't feel ill for it. It happens. I'm sure. So okay. Well, actually, you just started screen sharing.
It wasn't listed. Oh, great. It was desktop 1, apparently. Okay, folks, a little hiatus. This first poem, bit of the old meta poetry for you. This is called Too Late It Becomes Apparent. That this is one of the poems in which the teasingly unmoved title doubles as the open. Soon after which you find you've lost the will to persevere with it, zoning out and moving on before you're halfway in. A shame, because this means you'll never make it to the last bit, which would halt you, open-mouthed at its uncanny pinpoint aim. Home in like a smart bomb on that bunker full of what you can't or don't or won't remember that refuses to be named. The stuff that got you writing in the first place, that you've been picking at the edges of, in code, without your knowledge, one imperfect stanza at a time, your entire bloody life. Thank you. This next poem is just in case anyone here doesn't know what the form is, it's a liuli, which is Southeast Asian, quite a modern form. Basically, it's 3 stanzas. The first one is 31 syllables, which must be couched in the imperative, i.e. a set of instructions. The second stanza is 14 syllables, which can be any mode of expression. And the last stanza is 10 syllables, which must be a question or set of questions. This is upon discovering a mauled bird. Act swiftly. If the ground is soft, place the head on a firm, flat surface. Find a heavy stone. Aim well, strike hard, leave no room for doubt. Compassion has no use for the squeamish or faint of heart. Will equal mercy be afforded you? Thank you. And I'm going to finish off with a poem which is by way of a proposal. Let's you and I be atheists together. Eschew all creeds, acknowledge no invented deities, mono, pantheic or trinitas facsimiles, mere embodiments of human traits and frailties, the people's opium. Let's put no stock in orthodoxies, hierarchies, that shit, the mechanics of oppression gussied up as holy writ, nor set no store by karma nor nirvana, trust no carrot and stick covenants of paradise to come, be numb to numerology, make no apology for finding nothing in it but a game that's strictly zero-sum. Let our fetishes be kinky ones, not superstitious totems, no rabbit's feet, no lucky pants, no dried up monkey scrotums. We'll give short shrift to animistic talismans and shamans, respect no demonologies, well, maybe Neil Gaiman's, invest no supernatural heft in any natural creature and live free. Parsnips unbuttered by the utterance of guru, priest or preacher. And before he gets too cocky counting chickens, Dawkins, that list includes you. If not, then what else should we do? Waste our time on purgatory and limbo? Thanks, but no. Strive to rise through 7 or more multi-level heavens. That can go. I want a life finite and precious, then oblivion, not bloody Nintendo. Don't get me wrong, I'm not depressed, not here suggesting we be nihilists or cynics, locked in endless self-analysis, expensively examining our existential angst. Let's be jaw-dropped, gobsmacked, awestruck by the wonder of it all, and let that wonder be enough. How much more wonderful that there's no plan, no architect, nobody to thank. So come on, baby. Let's apostatize. As rational adults, let us consent to this dissent, be dissident in word and deed, and challenge clear-eyed and eager. Because, to misquote Neil Diamond and the Monkees' biggest single, I saw your face, now I'm unbeliever. Old habits have a habit of persisting, though, so you mustn't mind it too much if I worship you a bit, make sacrifices, lay my votive offerings at the altar of your days. Because I believe in us, you see, in you and me, religiously. To this, I promise to be true, that if you'll have me, I shall keep faith with you and pray you'll stay. Thank you, everybody. That's me done. Now, how do I stop sharing screen?
I got it. Though. It's all right. Well,
there you go.
Beautiful, beautiful.
thank you very much.
Thanks, folks.
I loved your wit. There's a poem by Carl Shapiro called, was it? I Am an Atheist Who Says His Prayers. You might look up. It's just a wonderful, funny poem. A little bit in tune with yours, which is a great reading. Well, I'm going to finish tonight. This is great. I'm going to finish tonight with Lakan. I never have prepared anything for Lakan. He's won all kinds of awards in performance and in poetry. He's the one that began the Global Poetry Network. He's known. He's got like 6 figures worth of followers and all the rest. And he's just a fantastic. Not only a great poet, but a great improvisationalist, which is a very rare thing. He's a great performer and a great friend. And Lakan is all yours. Thank you for getting up in the morning for us to do this.
I would wake up any time for poetry. It's worth all the waking up. Magandang umaga. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lakan, and I'm a poet from the Poetry Global Network. So thank you for all the poets who had shared tonight and this platform. Thank you so much, Mark, for giving us a chance to express. So I have 2 pieces which I will share screen, or should I say I will fishbein. And trigger warning for the first one. It's called Rape or Rape. I wish I could pretend like how some poets would write about a rape they didn't experience. I wish I wasn't scathed like a scarred open mic. I am. And no one is snapping. One doesn't snap for a snap robbery. My soul snapped that midnight. I can't assume something that consumed me. Do some poets fantasize that? Well, it's easy to imagine when they weren't the ones who got bargained for a shattering, like a sale item of erotica. They say rape pieces sells better than truth. It solicits illicit heartstrings for a borrowed literature. Sorry to disappoint their pride. I'm not clapping. You see, my rape doesn't perform. It does not know how to act. An act I don't want to relive, but it arrives in my pages still. It is a homing manuscript that I read being dishomed. My rape isn't something you read to be rewritten with ignorant fingers. My rape isn't gossip either. A murmur from a survivor you knew or you've cried for. My rape doesn't seek validation. It doesn't beg. I have begged with bruised feet, being stair dragged, with my jeweled on thighs licked by 4 tongues, with my wrangled palms nailed by libido, with my bitten nipples gnawed by perversion, with my smothered mouth choked by happenstance, with my drug ice numbed by malice. My rape doesn't cry to be called rape. They made me forget what tears were for. Their smiles were enough to pull back my eyes to lies that will be over soon. It wasn't that soon. Fuck. I wanted to count. I knew how, but suddenly time betrayed me with moans on my nibbled ears. It wanted to linger longer than that night. It did. It does. Still, I can't break the memory of how they broke me, but some poets breaks in, staging a lied-on line break, stanzas of make-believe they've been ravaged in the past, fake news that rhymes with ruse. My rape didn't happen to get used as a headliner for fame. There's no glory being raped. Some wordsmiths fakes abuse with an impersonating ink with the purpose of being seen, being heard, owning a skin they didn't earn. You can't buy a skin like mine to be lauded by a crowd too naive to peek deeper than a nave facade. A raped skin is crowded by buttons that switches trauma worse than a thief. Rape steals, like how some poets try penning a block of mimicry that hasn't penned them before. The scars that scribbles nightmares with a shriek. My rape doesn't scream. I did, even if I wanted to. They took my jaw on their pockets, flung on a silent floor. I never got it back. Instead, I have whispers of their voices like a shushed inhumanity. I still hear them, you know, on how they stole my voice, bent in pillows on a bed tucked too well. That mute is the pawn they sent to yield my consent, malleable like my hips that got turned too much. My rape isn't a word play. Shifting like other bards is deception. It remembers how straightforward assault is. My rape can't curve a pose. Being a sham, be a sham of being shambled. How could I deceive a horror that terrifies me to this day? It haunts my bones, shivers still. How could their stares were, how cold their stares were, peeking into my gilded pain. I wonder how frozen are hearts of some poets who write a forgery of a story similar to mine. A mockery to play a part they've not been parted to be played on. My rape isn't a cheap play, so people can feel sorry about me. I don't need more sorry. It can't erase how they weren't sorry for their brutal honesty. It doesn't soften or alleviate the debauchery of being raped. Who gave permission to some storytellers to fabricate justice? Do they feel pleasure when they swindle a tale, taking over another person's defamation of being? How libelous it is to purloin a loin they don't own. They've owned me that night. In the naked evenings where I still try to scrub myself of their coveted amusement. My rape isn't an entertainment for a few pity expletives. I wish my rape was a fraud. So I won't touch the parts of me they can falsify how false they made me on June 10, 2017. My rape isn't a dated citation to publish an ego of some poets who flips our depravity, but they are a mere bystander lurking to copy our plunder, waiting as an opportunist, just like the people who raped me. At least my rapists knew they were raping someone. What about those poets? Are they aware they're not the victims of this poem? Thank you so much. I think that's a bit long for a poem. I think I'll stop there. Thank you. Maraming salamat.
Well, I guess on that note, a lot of visions and revisions, as Barry's book now that I have is called tonight, and I guess we'll have to end with that one, but that's okay. That's the one which many of these will last, and that will last for a bit as well. And thank you for the bravery that you have to go through that nightmare with such power. And thank you for sharing it. You know, has to be done, and I certainly appreciate that. Well, I guess good evening all, and thank you for coming. Those that just attended to enjoy tonight's event, Karen, and I think Chris was here, and a couple of others came and went, which is lovely. A couple didn't show up. I don't know why. Everybody seemed excited about the event. I try to remind everybody that's the nature of Zoom, but this group was, I think we all know, was just a spectacular amount of sharing of all of our stuff. There's not a weak link in this chain here. And it's just wonderful to be the host, and look forward to come see it on the YouTube channel and see yourself perform, and leave a comment and subscribe to the Poetry Global Network so we can continue these wonderful events that we have and you can all be a part of, and so much appreciate that. Happy New Year, for heaven's sakes, as well.
Thank you so much, Mark. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Martin. There you are.
Thank you, everyone.
Great
Thanks,
stuff.
Mark.
Thank you.
Okay. Bon appetit.
Banane to
Dinner
Buenas
time.
noches. Gracias por having us.
Buenas
Thank you
noches.
so much. Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful.